Hello and welcome back to the next episode of Back in a Mill. I'm joined today by Rebecca Mack, who is the director of the Cosmetic Finance Group, and she also has her aesthetics business, MCAesthetics and Training. Rebecca, thanks so much for coming on today.
Hi.
You excited to be here?
I am, yes. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a bit of a long drive for you, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
It's worth it, honestly. So before we kind of get into business things, I want to ask you a little bit about your personal life and just really find out who you are and kind of how you were brought up and what led you to where you are today.
Okay.
So if we start with just your upbringing to start with.
Okay. My upbringing was kind of very, average, kind of working class. Like I didn't have any kind of family members that were in business or had their own business. I wouldn't say we was kind of poor, but I wouldn't even say we was comfortable when I was a child. So I am one of two children, and I was kind of a bit of the rebel child. Yeah, I was the naughty one. I've lost my trail of thought. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. So you were brought up, and so I think you've not come from like necessarily lots of money and people around you that were in business.
Yeah, absolutely not at all. No.
How was that like? I suppose not coming around business and then now being such a female, like inspiring businesswoman who's so successful.
Yeah.
How does that feel like when you look back at them old days and it's like, do you see them together or does it seem like, wow, that's so strange?
Yeah, not at all. It's funny actually because I found one of my old school reports the other day, and it's literally just screams ADHD, and it's just like, 13 homeworks missed, 4 books lost, sent out the room, unable to watch a demo video, stuff like that. But it was funny because she wrote on the line, "I repeat, this is set 1." So like I was clever, I was smart, I was just very naughty, I think.
Distracted
Easily, yeah.
I think like back then, because you're like 90s girl like me, right?
Yeah. Well, 87.
87. Okay, so 80s, 90s, late 80s. But I think back then we were branded naughty if we did things that meant that we couldn't concentrate.
Yeah.
Whereas I think now it's a lot more recognised as actually being something that's more kind of, it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that you're being naughty, is it? It's just that inability to focus.
Yeah, I think as well, my sister was kind of really poorly for a couple of years, and my parents lived with her in intensive care.
Aww.
So I think, like, I thought I was fine at the time, but I think, like, reflecting back, that probably had maybe a part to play in kind of some of the behaviours.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when we grow up and it's hard like that, we've not always got the coping mechanisms to know why we're doing it or what's causing it.
Exactly.
But I think the fact that you grew up like that and you are like how you are today, that's a massive kind of bridge there that you've really like pulled together, haven't you?
Yeah.
So were you supported growing up with your ambitions, would you say? Or was you kind of a lone soldier and you were like, right, I want to do this, I want to do that?
Yeah, I've probably, not that I didn't have a loving and supportive family, like I really did, but as I said, none of them kind of came from business, and they were quite like sensible, old school, like NHS pension.
Okay.
And like I'm a big risk taker, and I was just had the attitude of, well, if it doesn't work, I'll just go get another job. Like it's not a problem. Like it's not a big deal. But there was, so I wouldn't say they're not supportive, but there was just a bit like, oh, not another idea. Because like I'd say something, and then I was like I said, the rebel child. I'd go and work abroad every summer, and like my sister was dead homely, and like I'd come home with a sleeve, or I'd booked a boob job when I was like 18, and my mum was fuming. I didn't tell her. So like, I think they were just like, oh, not again. Like, it's just a silly idea kind of thing. And they were more like on the sensible side. But I didn't listen, obviously.
I mean, it's a good job you didn't listen, because I think sometimes if we do listen too much to other people, and if we think, okay, if I had have listened, I actually wouldn't be where I am today. Yeah. So, you always have to go with your heart, I think, and just follow what you want to do, even if it's causing utter chaos.
Yeah. That's a lot of that in my life.
So when you kind of came out of school then, did you ever go to university and explore that?
I did go to university, yeah. So I went to college and then I went to university, and I actually did a psychology degree first. Well, I say a psychology degree, did like half of it, and then I switched on to psychiatric nursing. So I always had like an interest in mental health, and like I'm one of these kind of nerds that loves like the crime channels and the crime documentaries and all that. So I loved like when I did psychology at A level, anything about like schizophrenia, psychosis, all that kind of stuff. So I went to uni to do psychology. However, after like 2 years, it was just becoming a bit boring. It was all like, you know, like when you was in high school and you did science and you had to write the experiments and it's like method, conclusion. It was just boring. And I just thought, this is just so boring. So I think I learn better like actively doing something. So I moved on to the nursing, which I didn't necessarily want to be a nurse. Obviously, thank God that I did, because it's elevated Mac to where it is today and it enabled me to progress. But it was more like the mental health side of things that I wanted to do. I couldn't have been a normal nurse, like absolutely not.
So that's what you were originally interested in. It was more like of the psychological aspects.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And then now, obviously, fast forward to today, you have your nursing, but obviously you're more aesthetics driven.
Yeah.
So you are in the clinics, are you injecting, or are you kind of moving away from that and doing other projects at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm not really injecting. I haven't injected properly for probably 6 years since I had my daughter. I do the odd day now. I have gone back because I've moved my office to one of the clinics. So I am doing more, and it's been like lovely. And like I'm seeing people that have been coming for like 12 years that I didn't even know were still coming, that I used to do in like my apartment and stuff back in the day. But literally when I leave, I've got like a million emails, a million phone calls, and I'm just like, it's nice when I'm there, but then I've still got to deal with that when I leave. So the odd shift, yeah, and working on the finance company, and then new bits that I'm doing as well.
Okay, so did your aesthetics company evolve before? Because obviously we know that you have your finance company as well. What evolved first?
So MCAesthetics was first. I think I had Manchester and Birmingham clinic when I started the finance company, and then Leeds came after that. But yeah, it was Mac came first.
Okay, and you've really built Mac into a successful aesthetics business. It's well known.
Yeah.
And then from that, you've actually managed to open a training academy.
Yeah, so we've got the training academy as well, which again, I kind of built it at the start, but then stepped back from it. Even when I was in the hospital, I was kind of swaying towards leadership and management. Like they was funding me a degree in leadership and management. I was the one always in the office managing everything rather than being out on the ward with the patients. So I do like the management side of things more. So yeah, I don't teach anymore. Haven't taught. I do the odd thing, don't get me wrong. You know, if like someone's sick or whatever, we can't cover a date. But I haven't done that for a while.
Did you find that quite stressful setting up the training arm of that business whilst Mac was so busy, and obviously it's in a few different cities as well? Was that quite a challenging time?
It not necessarily, because like it was kind of a very long time ago, to be honest. So it was before I kind of had all the extra stress and the extra staff. So I kind of did it myself and then just kind of passed it on to the staff. But I did do a lot of stuff over COVID as well. So I kind of, that time enabled me to spend more time on things. So like now we've got like comprehensive 90-page anatomy and physiology manuals that I wouldn't have probably had that time to sit down and put that together if it wasn't for COVID. So I think I used the time wisely there to kind of help elevate that.
Yeah, I think so many people, especially business owners, they used COVID in such a different way to people that were employed, because people that were employed obviously were out of a job and they were being paid. But I think for everyone else, we were like, okay, what can we do with our businesses that means that when we go back, it's going to be even better?
I'd just love to have COVID again, to be honest, because I got so skinny because I was used to eating out 3 times a day, like a day. So I was eating in the house and just exercising in the garden because it was dead sunny. And like,
and a hot summer that year, right?
Yeah, it was amazing because like I had to eat at home. You don't realise how many calories you eat when you eat out, because I'm not a very good cook. So yeah, I was the thinnest I've ever been in college. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
So we're gonna have another repeat of COVID just so Rebecca can lose some pounds.
Yeah.
Not that you need to. I mean, you look amazing.
To be fair, since then I've actually like learned to appreciate the house a lot more and spend a lot more time in there, because I used to just be like an absolute whirlwind, in, out. It was just like, it weren't even like a home, to be honest. I was never there. And obviously that enabled me to, like, I think it's the first time I've used my kitchen probably in like 6 years, to be honest. But yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. I love the fact that you didn't use a kitchen. That's iconic. I mean, who needs a kitchen anyway?
Yeah. I'm not very good at household chores. No.
So you've just made a comment that you didn't feel like you were in the house a lot. Was that because you were just so busy running around trying to make your businesses successful, and that you were trying to juggle all of that at once?
Yeah.
Okay, and you have a daughter, correct?
6-year-old daughter. Yeah.
Cute. And how do you find having your daughter impacts on this whole industry, like with the whole lifestyle? Like, do you find that a challenge?
It's difficult because, like, my mum passed away a couple of years ago, so like my sister's a teacher, one of my best friends is a teacher, so I have no one to really kind of help. I mean, my dad helps a lot when he can, but it is hard work sometimes. But yeah, it's good, and she's, you know, she benefits a lot from it. She's been all over the place, and you know, she's flown business class, and she's been to Lapland, she's been to the Maldives. But I'm trying to kind of rein her in a little bit, because I don't want her to obviously turn into a spoiled brat, which she is.
I mean, I think for children that do get that access, that lifestyle early, I don't always necessarily think it's a bad thing, because I think they actually grow up with a lot of the things that maybe we didn't grow up with. Yeah. Because I think when, it sounds like your upbringing was quite similar to mine, I think when we grew up, it was very much like, this is kind of how it is, and you don't question or ask, and you just have to kind of accept it. Whereas I think with children of this generation, it's like they're so much smarter and they know stuff that I just think, how do you know that? Yeah. Like, my son comes out with things about taxes and about how you save for them. And I'm thinking, I didn't even know how to tie my shoelaces when I was your age. I know. It's crazy what they know.
Say is just an absolute joke. But we went to Gran Canaria a few weeks ago, and she got on the plane. She's like, "Where's the bed on this plane, mummy?" And I was like, "Sorry, there's no beds on Ryanair, love." Like, absolutely not. Like, rein it in, like, shouting it out. I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my God."
Because they don't realise what they're saying, do they?
No, I mean, like, I think I went to Spain once a year if I was lucky, like, as a child, like, if that, and that was seen as luxury. And like, now these kids is flying all over the world.
They don't know the born.
They don't know the born.
But
they don't.
I think it's our job though, as like the mothers, to say, you know, this isn't normal for everyone, and actually what you're getting is special because mummy works hard and mummy does this, and you know, we sacrifice a lot, don't we, so that our children can have better lives than we did, essentially.
Yeah, I've started making her do like gratitude in bed as well and stuff. So like,
that's really nice.
Making her appreciate, kind of helping her appreciate what she's got, kind of thing.
Does she respond well to that?
Yeah,
that's nice.
But she responds well to anything that lets her stay up later. So yeah, love
that. Bless her little heart.
She's clever one.
Yeah. Well, she obviously gets it from her mom. So just going back then to the cosmetic company, I'm really, really interested to know about your finance company, the Cosmetic Finance Group, and what kind of brought you to think, okay, I'm going to do this business? Like, what did you spot that was missing in the industry? How was that born?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was quite a good few years ago, so it was like long before the time of Klarna or anything like that. I think the only thing out there was kind of Wonga. Do you remember that, like, crazy payday loan with like 1,000% APR or something?
They'd be in the high streets, or
is what
they were in the high street. Those,
it was just like, it was just awful. I mean, I think I actually used it as a student, like, like borrow £50 before I got paid because I needed petrol. But literally, you get charged something ridiculous, like. So so basically in the clinics, obviously the cosmetic procedures were becoming a lot more kind of accepted and popular, and a lot of people, especially younger people, were asking if they could pay in installments, and there was nothing really out there at the time. So there was like is it go cardless, where
Yeah.
I think it's like a monthly thing, but ultimately you weren't protected, so you're still having your outlay of the product up front, and then you're waiting every month to get the payment, and then if the client was to not pay, you're screwed basically, and there's nothing you could do other than take them to small claims court. So I thought like something can be done here, like something can be done. Like told everyone I'm going to make a finance company, and they thought like you're absolutely barking mad. Like here's another one of your crazy ADHD ideas. And I just looked into it and just did it. Everyone's like, you don't know anything about finance. I was like, well, I'll learn about finance.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, so it just kind of went from there. And then weirdly, I got introduced to a lender that was kind of looking to go into the space. And then I kind of told them about my idea, what I was already doing, and then we kind of made a partnership, but that went all wrong as well, hence the rebrand. So
yeah, is that why you rebranded it then? Was it because it was previously Pretty Little Face Finance?
Pretty Face Finance, yeah. So it was Pretty Face Finance back in the day. I ended up in a 3-year court battle with the lender that I was with, which wasn't nice, and I got my own FCA license.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, well, I was kind of on it thinking, you're controlling me here. So like, and then within the court battle, I thought if for any reason I lose, even though I was quite like confident that I would win, if I was to, basically they were trying to take the company off me. And if I was to get my license under Pretty Face Finance, I thought, I wonder if they will then have access to own the license if for anything in court was to go wrong. So I opened the license under a completely different name, just with the thought process of if anything goes wrong, that's separate. And then it just got messy because everything had to be in the name of the license, so the contracts and everything. And like, it was like, there's no point being Cosmetic Finance Group trading as Pretty Face Finance. I might as well just use it as a big rebrand. And ultimately, like, I did want to kind of have a bit more of a professional and corporate feel, and whilst I love the name Pretty Face Finance and I did love it, and like I thought of it and all the branding and everything, I just feel like Cosmetic Finance Group just sounds a bit more like serious and a bit more corporate and a bit more like a financial institute rather than something almost on par with a clinic, if that makes sense.
Because I suppose it's quite beauty led, the old name. I do love the old name, very very nice, but I understand you evolved and that happened and you had to bring the brand forward with that, which made complete sense. And I mean, I would say that your finance company is the biggest in the industry. I don't think that would be unfair to say. It's you know, accessed by a lot of people to do training. I mean, what are you finding that the finance is most used for?
It is a bit of everything, but yeah, training's a big one because I think we're one of the only people that will go up to like £5,000-ish, and we've got longer terms as well. So for training, you can go up to like 36 months, which is quite attractive, really. So even though, you know, you've got your likes of Klarna and stuff like that today, that's all interest free. So that's like 3-month period really, unless you've got a license, and then you can look at interest bearing, which you get your longer terms. So training, absolutely. We did used to do a lot of kind of the non-surgical BBLs on there, but since all the kind of bad press and stuff, and this kind of red treatment list, we've had to rethink all that because the amount of complaints and things that were coming from that, and then it's just not worth it. So we've had to strike off red treatments, which is a pain, but it is what it is.
I can see why you've done it, because it's just the stress that's associated with it, and I suppose you're just the facilitator of the finance.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard enough job for us to monitor the clinics in terms of the financial promotions and what they're doing, what we need to monitor. We don't have time to monitor, you know, their skill, their certification, you know, how good the before and after pictures are.
And that goes beyond your requirements, doesn't it, as well? Which I suppose would be very hard to manage on such a large scale. That would be difficult, wouldn't it? So I'm super impressed that you managed to get your own license. That's really impressive.
It took a long time, to be fair. Probably took about 2.5-3 years in total. And it's hard work. Like, it's harder than having a child. Honestly, I'd rather have another child than have an FCA license. It's literally like,
Not for the faint-hearted.
No, it's just a lot, and like there's a lot of compliance, and you need a compliance officer, and you need audits for this, audits for that, and then you need external audits to audit your audits, and it's just like it's all like consumer duty focus, so it's got like the end user at heart, so like not the clinic owners, obviously the customer who's taking out the finance. And I don't know if you know, but you're not allowed to kind of promote it as such if you've not got your own license as well.
Okay.
So it's a bit kind of like, you know, you can't entice someone to have Botox, a prescription medicine, because it's seen as like not moral, and you shouldn't be enticing someone. It's kind of the same with the finance. You can't be kind of enticing someone to get into debt. So you're not even allowed to give them information unless you have got a license, basically.
Wow,
because
so it's really, really strict.
It's really strict, and we are basically like the only way I can explain it is like everyone who is on our license are like our children, and we have to monitor everything they do, and I mean everything, every social media post.
So they come under your license, and almost, is it a bit like they subcontract under that license then?
Yeah.
And then you're responsible,
but we're responsible for them,
that they're doing everything that they should be.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
So they're basically, the simplest way to put it is they're just an introducer. So all they really are allowed to do is introduce the customers to us. So finance available, see Cosmetic Finance Group. And, you know, I've developed training videos, I've developed just all sorts in the back end of the site to try and maintain the compliance, and people just don't listen. And it's like they're posting stuff like, spread the cost, you only need to pay this, and it's this a month. And I'm like, you're not allowed to say that. Like, you will get struck off and not be allowed to offer finance, because if you think about it, people think, why is it so strict? But you are encouraging people to get into debt, and you don't know their financial circumstances.
Because they don't have the money, and that's why they're accessing the facility to begin with.
So literally it's just a case of see Cosmetic Finance Group, and then we've got, you know, really good staff that know all about the industry as well, and they can answer anything in terms of
that's great,
the costs, the monthlies, the APR, which is just been changed actually. So the APR is now variable, so it's dependent on the individual, which is going to improve the acceptance rates.
So that's better? It's
better, yeah. So
great.
Rather than having just like a standard APR at a certain, you know, rate, depending on that individual, they might be offered a better rate, or they might be offered a higher rate, depending on their circumstances. But ultimately, that's going to widen the acceptance figures.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot involved in terms of, like you said, you have to have the audits, and you've not necessarily come from like a business background as such. I know that you're in business now and you very much have learned it. Do you think it's more difficult for people that haven't done business degrees to be successful? Or do you think that this is just a case of, if you want to get it, you have to put the work in?
I think a business degree is irrelevant, if I'm honest. One of my best friends did a business degree, and I give her advice all the time. And I'm not saying I'm right, because I've just self-taught. Like, I didn't learn anything about business. But I think it's just learning as you go, and it's not been easy. Like, I've made loads of mistakes. I've lost a lot of money. I've been in court. Like, I got sued by MAC Makeup. I don't know if you know that. Like, MAC Makeup sent me a 43-page letter from Times Square, New York, right? And I was like, how do they know who I am? Like, there was all screenshots of my Facebook.
Rebecca.
Yeah, from like 10 years ago. And someone had said, don't go here to me, to MCAesthetics, they test on animals. And I wrote, we are not associated to MAC Makeup. So I'm blatantly saying, like, we are not associated. And they were trying to do me for passing off. And basically they were suing me for everything I've ever earned, ever. It cost me everything, basically, to lose an A, to fucking lose an A. Wow. I had to like change everything. I had to like solicitors' fees. That was just.
I did not know this. This is wild.
So that's why it was MAC. It used to be MAC. Right. And obviously it's for my surname. Like, I was always called like Becky Mark at school. So I use Rebecca now. Sounds
you can't
posher.
say that in court though, can you?
But they're like, no, your name's McDermott. But yeah, so basically it cost me.
That must have been so stressful.
Yeah, it was. Hundreds of thousands of pounds to lose an A, effectively. Like, I was going to rebrand and like, because I was doing a lot of celebrities at the time and stuff, and I thought I could use it as a bit of like a media thing and do a rebrand. but I just spent a bomb on a radio advert and a jingle, and I was thinking, and everyone was singing the song, and I was thinking, if I change my name now, so
stop singing the song.
Yeah, I was looking at all ways of like respelling Mac, like, but like I didn't like a K, and like I didn't anyway. And then I lost the A, and they agreed that, and it just cost me a silly amount of money, like
I can
silly
imagine
for a silly
but
reason.
You've bounced back.
Yeah.
Stronger than ever.
Yeah.
So if you can come up against being sued by Mac,
that's why I hate wearing Mac makeup now.
I will never wear it in your presence,
don't wear
honestly.
Mac so whenever I'm in
Chanel
Selfridges, I'm like, no, I'm not buying Mac makeup. And at the airports, I'm just not even doing it because.
But now look, like I know that was such a bad situation, but you must have learned so much from that.
Yeah.
From being in court, being put in that position.
Oh, I'm a regular in court. I'm an absolute regular in court. Yeah.
The security men that beep you as you walk in. They're like, oh, she's here again. What's she done?
It's just nothing phases me anymore. And people just are like, I would be having sleepless nights over that. I just laugh because I just think it's just another normal day in my life, to be honest.
And if you can't change something, what can you do?
Yeah.
And I think people struggle with that. So, but that's not something you struggle with. You're not a worrier, would you say?
I'm not a worrier at all.
Okay.
If anything, I'm like the complete opposite. But like I like to like put myself in difficult positions. It's like I like the chaos and I like the stress
and the
challenge. And like if I don't throw myself in and then figure it out, it's not going to happen. So which is not necessarily the best way to be, but like my sister's been living with me for the past 10 months, well, probably longer than that. My sister, brother-in-law, niece and nephew, they was having a house conversion, and my house was chaotic. Like, have you seen the Tyson Fury program on Netflix? That's what my house was like. Like she's actually in my phone as Tommy Fury, and I'm in hers as Tyson because she says she lives in my shadows. So we're like the Furies, like all living in this house, and it was chaotic.
Iconic.
Oh, it was chaotic. Like we started a YouTube channel actually, but it got barred. Yeah, it was dead funny.
Another thing you've got in trouble for.
Yeah, I was gonna like exploit the kids, like Thingy Jenner, and be their agent, make money off them. Yeah, but we got barred and it got deleted. But they've gone now, and my point is, going back to your question, the house is silent and I can't bear it. And it's like there's something wrong with me, because any normal person would be just embracing that peace and relaxing. And it's like, I feel like I need that kind of chaos to survive.
And you obviously thrive under that kind of pressure. Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are today. And I think for a lot of people, they'd be like, if that happened to me, I'm in bed, I ain't getting out, and I'm not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
Whereas you're like, right, okay, we're here. Let's, see what's going to happen today. It's wild. So you're not losing sleep over stress, like mistakes.
No.
You just learn and pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I get stressed.
Yeah.
And like, it affects me mentally. Like, I might be like snappy with Miley or whatever, or like a bit withdrawn, and like I tend to just not speak to people and just ignore everyone and like ignore my phone. But I just deal with it basically, because who else is going to deal with it? So you've got to, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, when you're used to kind of being the person all the time that has to deal with things, you kind of just pick up that role, don't you? And you're not looking for anyone else because you've never had it.
Yeah.
You can't miss what you haven't had help with. Yeah. Right?
I think I'm kind of like too much that way as well, almost. And probably going back to my psychology degree, I'm probably diagnosing myself, but I think it's a bit of like internal trauma from like when my sister was in hospital and I was kind of left. And I feel like it probably links to that attitude of I can look after myself, and like I don't even let men buy me a drink on a night out. And my friends are like, are you stupid? I'm like, no. And then, but the boyfriends are like, oh, they can go out with Becky any night they want because she just repels men. Like, it's great. But yeah, I am a bit too much. I'm too independent sometimes.
It's good
you know
though.
what I mean?
You know who you are. You're confident in yourself, and I think that's really inspiring that you are so confident and sure, and that you know what direction you want to take. Because a lot of people don't, and that must be awful being on the receiving. I'd rather be a bit more like that and be moving forward. I think for me, I mean, and everything that you've got and that you've earned today, you've done it on your own.
Yeah.
you know, it's good. It's amazing. You've done very, very well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So something else that's really impressed me about you, Rebecca, is that you have your prescriber's license.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so that was after you did your nursing. How did you go about obtaining that?
Basically, again, I had no real choice. So when I'd done my aesthetic training, started doing aesthetics, building up clientele. I think I had the Manchester clinic at this point, just Manchester. And it was before the prescribing rules came in, that about the remote prescribing and all that kind of stuff. And I had my doctor that I trained with just used to do my prescriptions, and just got this text one day, and it was like, can't prescribe for you anymore. Look at the news. See you. Bye. Good luck. Don't want anything to do. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? And a woman actually tried to sue me, right, because she couldn't get a Botox top up. And I was just really transparent with I was like, look on the news. It was all over ITV News. I cannot physically get any like Botox because of all these prescribers. Like, you'll have to bear with me, kind of thing. Her head was frozen to death anyway. Like, she didn't need it.
It's always the client,
yeah, honestly,
that are like got the perfect result.
I was like, it's supposed to be a review, not a top up. Like, it's like they think that they're owed it,
that they've got something. Yeah.
Anyway, so Hargreaves. I'm getting it mixed up with my bloody stocks and shares. What they called? Hamilton Fraser.
Yes.
Hamilton Fraser paid her out, and then I never went back to them. Then after that,
they?
Yeah, they paid her out. I couldn't believe it. She was just one of them awful, difficult clients. But yeah. So anyway, then I was a bit like in the shit, and I was like, what am I going to do? So the only thing I could do was do it myself. So I applied to,
of course.
Applied to university to do my prescribing, but I was the only self-funded person on that intake.
Wow.
And they was all doing it via the NHS. So I was like honest, because I am, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing Botox. And like, the professor woman, who's like probably worked there 60 years, was like looking down on me with my sleeve and my big fake lips, thinking like, oh, you're doing this to do Botox. So like, I did all like my essays on, like, I tried to make it medical. Like, I did botulinum toxin in children for cerebral palsy, or I did like migraines. I tried to make it like not in your Botox for wrinkles. But she just like really kind of singled me out and stuff.
Did
and
she?
Yeah, it wasn't nice really. And then by the end of the course, when I'd made friends with everyone, half of them did aesthetics and were just using the NHS basically to get the prescribing for free. And I was just like, no one spoke up and stuck up for me and said, actually, I do aesthetics as well.
Just kept quiet. Just let you take all the flack.
Let me take it like I'm wrong because I'm here because I want to prescribe.
That's awful, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, prescribing for something like that, even though it is cosmetic, for someone it can be a real confidence boost and like a change of how they perceive themselves, how they kind of carry themselves. Like, Botox is a confidence booster. And I think if people can't understand that, then it's just a little bit sad. And it is used medically in so many areas.
I know. She just was about 90 and obviously never had Botox in her life, so she just didn't get it. She's definitely must have retired now.
Cheers to everyone on that course that stuck up for Rebecca then.
Yeah, it's not good. And like, the fact that I was paying for it myself, I thought I should have actually got credit for that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm paying for this. I'm paying the university direct out of my own money.
Yeah.
But instead it was like frowned upon, which just made absolutely no sense to me.
Sad. Very sad, isn't it?
Very sad. But I mean, I'm sure this was a very long time ago.
I'm sure it's advanced
absolutely now, and I bet loads of people on there are kind of, you know, openly admitting that they're doing aesthetics. But this was probably, God, I couldn't even tell you, like 9 years ago, maybe.
Yeah,
like,
quite a while.
Quite a long time.
Yeah, and things have advanced a lot in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Just gonna take a break. That's why I said don't get too stressed out about the questions.
That's why when I read them, I thought, if you ask me, I can answer that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll just
So we've kind of done like personal life. I'm going to ask you about like manifestation and like gratitude and things. I want to ask you about that, but not yet.
Oh yeah, I've got something funny I can tell you then.
Have you? Okay, I'm going to ask that now then.
Oh God, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So do you have any beliefs, manifestation, gratitude? Do you practice anything?
I didn't used to. I always was kind of quite, I wouldn't say negative, but like not kind of into that stuff. And then that's where I got a coach to kind of improve with that kind of stuff a few years ago. So now I do manifestation in terms of more like visualization stuff. So like I've got the vision board in the office and stuff like that. Or if I want something, like I will completely picture it. I'll know what color it is, what size it is. It's like I've got to make it up and then find it. I do that with clothes as well. Do you ever do that? Like, I want this outfit, doesn't exist, but I'm going to find it. Gratitude, do quite a bit of that. A mantra, which is like kind of affirmation statements about yourself. So like one of my old coaches used to say, it's like the armor that you put on. So it's like writing like positive statements about yourself. And I'm also learning to be a witch. Bit of witchcraft.
Plot twist.
Which again is another one of my ADHD crazy ideas. But I've actually stuck with this one.
This is
I like
wild.
It. Yeah, it is wild.
Okay, tell me
I've
everything.
done a few spells. Well, yeah, it's
spells.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah.
I did not expect you to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me more. Why did you want to be a witch?
I just thought it was interesting. One of my friends, like, she's like into the moon and like she's a proper moon child. And we just found this witch class to go to one time. Thought, let's go and be witches because we don't want to go out drinking anymore. So it's like, what can we do on a Friday night? We'll go to a witch class. We went to this witch class and it was great. And now we do spells and stuff.
What was the last spell that you cast? And don't lie to me.
Oh God, I'm not allowed to. I can't tell you. Well, you're not allowed to do anything too bad because it's like a karma thing. So like you can't just put hexes and curses on people for no reason. Yeah. If they don't deserve it, because it will come back on you. I've done a love spell. It didn't fucking work though.
Didn't work? Oh, that's I'd be fuming.
No. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a witch. I'm learning to be a witch, but we'll see how long that lasts because I was learning the piano as well. I used to play the piano when I was a child, and I decided I wanted to play the piano again because I wanted something to take my mind off business. Yeah. And the next day I had a piano in my living room and I've not touched it for 18 months. Yeah. Okay.
So it's like these kind of things that these ideas that you have and you're like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. And although my witchy stuff, that's...
witchy stuff?
Yeah, that's going well. And actually, I did Miley's hair. I don't know if you saw... she made me do this hair for her first day back at school from Pinterest. And it had all like red ribbon in it and didn't have any ribbon. But I had a big thing of red wool from one of my spells. Oh. So I chopped a load of that.
So you put it in her hair?
Put it in her hair. So,
does she know that you're doing the spells?
She's heard bits. Yeah, she thinks she can be a witch as well. We're probably people probably just think we're barking mad. We are, but
you need your own show.
Yeah, honestly, we do. But
petition in the comments for Rebecca to have her own witch show.
Yeah.
I did not expect you to say that. That's really intrigued me actually. Yeah. There's a lot of layers to you, isn't there? Yeah. It's like you can probably, because obviously we've just been sat here today, but I can imagine people that have known you for years and years, they're like, oh, like still being shocked at things that you must come out with. Yeah, major. Like I should have a TV show. Like stuff just happens every day. Like every day, honestly. It's just ridiculous. At least you don't have a boring life. No,
it's not. It's chaotic.
It keeps you busy, doesn't it? Keeps us sharp.
Yeah. Every ingredient for every spell that there is, including like parts of dead animals and things.
You get ingredients.
Yeah, you get ingredients for different spells. You need different things.
So you'll be using the kitchen a lot more then.
Yeah.
With you.
Yeah, I'm a bit busy at the moment to be doing spells and stuff, but
maybe you never know. You could start your own like witching company.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, there's not really anything in Manchester. We have to drive really far away. Yeah, but we were so surprised, because we got a ticket to this the first time we went, and it was packed.
Busy?
Packed. I was like, who knew there was so many witches? Like, absolutely.
You never know who you sat next to.
I think they just looked at us and thought, like, you two absolutely, like me and my mate with that blonde hair, like we're the youngest ones there. Yeah. And then when they asked us, like, about like our spells and what we wanted to do, and like my friend was like, she had like a protection spell for the children and things like that. Aww. I think there was a bit like, oh right, okay, so you are serious kind of thing. But yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic. One that you've either now look up to and admire, or when you're growing up, anyone that you thought, I really want to be like you, or someone that you was impressed by?
I think looking back to when I was younger, there wasn't anyone in particular back then because I didn't know what I wanted to do or anything. But what I will say is that I always tended to like the kind of black sheep or the rebels. So like when everyone loved like Britney Spears, I wanted to be Christina Aguilera, and I dyed my hair black in school. Like my mum had a heart attack, so I just dyed my hair jet black to look like Christina Aguilera on that video. And like I used to like Princess Diana when I was a kid. I know a lot of people did, but I think I liked that like because she was a bit of a rebellious streak. And like even like I actually had a bit of an unhealthy obsession with Jodie Marsh at one point. When she was in a bodybuilder era. But again, everyone loved Katie Price at that moment in time, and she was like the enemy. So I think I've always been like swayed to like gone against and like gone against society and like the norm. I think then growing up, Manchester, like the community I was in and the circles that I mixed in was really, really helpful for me. So like you had like Scott and Ross who have Couture Club, then you've got Scott Thomas and Fran who's now Molly May's agent, P. Louise, Nadim Arabi, all these kind of people. And I think like in Manchester it was just a really good time and a really good community, and everyone bounced off each other and everyone was grafting, like everyone was working hard, but everyone was kind of supporting each other. And then I think that really helped like progression wise, to be kind of surrounded by those kind of
it's inspiring
people.
Isn't it?
And then I'd say since I've got older, I like Karen Brady and like Deborah Meaden, and I know like they're very different, but they're the kind of programs I watch. Like they're the only reality TV programs I watch is The Apprentice and Dragon's Den. And like Karen Brady, I just love what she's achieved, and
Great,
she's still so glamorous and like she looks fabulous. So yeah, I'd say that.
Amazing. So you come across to me as a person that probably doesn't really care too much about what people think. Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
And do you think that's helped you in business?
Yeah, I think it has helped me. I think I've changed since I've had a child, because I used to be in all these groups, and like I honestly believe I was like the first young person to kind of do aesthetics, because like when I started there was nobody else other than like 40-odd-year-old nurses who were low-key, who didn't post before and after pictures, and they kind of looked down on me because I liked quite a fake look back then. Like not a fake look, but
it's evolved, hasn't it? Everyone was into the
I forgot the question now. I'm gone on.
No, I was just saying, like, do you think that because basically you've not let people care about what people think, and you've not let it affect you and move forward? Because I think now in this day and age there's a lot of women out there that are probably watching this that do care what people think. Would you have any advice for them women that are watching this and looking at you and thinking, wow, like I wish I was more like that?
I think you've just got to always go with your gut, and like if something doesn't feel like it resonates with you and your kind of beliefs, then don't just try and fit in. So like I used to attend a lot of the events, like you know, like the big events with like Galderma, Allergan and all like your big doctors and stuff were there, and it was quite cliquey, and you kind of had to fit in with what they thought and what they believed, and they'd slag off non-medics and they'd do this and they'd only use these products. And like you still see people now that are like clones, that like they say things, and I think I bet you go there, you're in the BACN, you do this, you do that, and it's like you are allowed to deviate. You're not doing anything illegal, you're not doing anything wrong, you're allowed your own opinion. And I mean I got hammered for years. I got slagged off all over socials. I didn't do anything wrong, I don't know why. And then it just got to a point where on them forums, which I don't know what your opinion is on this, but I just don't think they're helpful. Like,
so bad.
They're so bad.
They should be banned.
Yeah, they're awful. They're just not conducive to learning. The bitchy. You've got people like made to feel stupid for asking a question, and like someone slamming them down with the evidence-based practice. You should know this and this. And,
they're not genuine, are they?
No, not
at
all.
They're there and they're used in a horrible way.
Yeah, they're not used for educational purposes.
And whenever I have students that come to me and they say they're on these forums, I'm like, get out.
Yeah.
Get out of them.
They're awful. And that tipped me over the edge, because I was getting slagged off on a forum by about 10 people. And bad things, like slating our appearance, saying
It's horrible.
we all look the same, like Stepford Wives. One of them called us prostitutes of aesthetics, even though we'd paid him thousands. One of my staff members did thousands of pounds worth of training with him, and he was an ambassador of Galderma, who I used to spend 30 grand a month with. And he's calling us a prostitute. So my mum had just died, and my head had just fell off, and I thought, I've had enough, and I just used it to my advantage. I just did a video, outed them all, put every single picture with them. Yeah, I'll have to send you the video. It's great, actually. I was just on one, and I thought, no, I'm not taking this anymore.
Bullying.
I've taken it for 10 years, and whilst I'm not like, I'd usually like defend myself, but when I had my child, I let it go now. I think I can't be arsed with it. I'm not bothered about you. Like,
but
you
the thing
shouldn't bother about me.
they've obviously picked on you to do that, and you're very strong. You know, what about if they'd have picked on someone else that hadn't have been so strong? I mean, did you see the necrosis with the nose? And there was a company that had put on the pictures, and they were slating the girl that had done it, and she ended up in the hospital. Did you see this?
Yeah, did she try and hurt herself? Yeah, it was awful. And you don't know the true facts, do you? Do you know what I mean? And it's a side effect, and it can happen. Well, it's not a side effect, it's a complication, but it can happen, and you don't know.
Instead of thinking, okay, let's put the client care first, all they did was make this poor girl feel awful, who had children, and then cause this girl to make an attempt to take her life. I mean,
it is awful, and I do think, like, I know I am probably quite strong, well, very strong. So for like an average person who does wear it, and you know, it's not good.
No, it's not. Well, if anyone tries to pick on me, Rebecca, I know who I'm coming to, and that's you. So no one pick on me.
They've never said anything again ever since I outed them all.
Really?
Yeah.
Stand up to the bullies.
Yeah.
You know?
Never heard a thing.
No.
Never.
And it's just awful. You know, we should be here to support each other, bring everyone together, and that's what the podcast is about. It's about bringing people together as well, and just, you know, showing other people support and respect. It's not a lot to ask, is it?
No. I think a lot of these people on the forums, they try and make out there's something they're not, and they speak like they're still nursing dying patients in intensive care, and I'm like, you do Botox as well, love, all day every day. Like, don't tell me you're not in it for money as well. Obviously, don't get me wrong, we love our job and we love what we do, but ultimately, why would we have left the NHS? Because it's better money.
How do you feel like being in aesthetics, especially with more nurses coming into the industry, how do you feel like that's put a strain on the NHS?
I think it probably is bad, to be honest, because obviously I just fell into it. So I was being a psychiatric nurse, and my friend owned a sunbed shop at the time, and she was pregnant, and I was bored, and I was like, I'll just sit on reception for you. And I seen this nurse trotting in and out in an hour with a grand cash. It was actually Paige's mum, P. Louise's mum. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, I want a grand in an hour. And I had no money, saved up. And I remember the owner of the sunbed shop tried going halves with me, saying like, well, half. I was like, no.
Yeah, you know.
Not a chance.
You were like, no.
But like, obviously I was already a nurse and fell into that. Whereas I do think now it's difficult because people are going into nursing. Yeah. They are draining the resources, and you know, it's a waste of time, university, NHS, to then leave instantly with no real intention of being a nurse. Yeah,
and a lot of people will come through to me with my academy and say, oh, especially with regulation changes, they're like, I'm going to do nursing, but only because I want to do aesthetics.
Yeah, I know. And then on the flip side, it's like, I think, how does me being a psychiatric nurse, like, because I remember I trained a paramedic once and there was uproar, like, oh my God, they're not a medic. How can you train a paramedic? And I said, they save people's lives every day. Like, how can me as a psychiatric nurse be okay to train? But a paramedic, you're saying they're not a medic. They shouldn't be safe to be doing aesthetics. And I had like this argument with someone on one of these silly forums. And I just think it's just crazy.
I think it's all got more and more, hasn't it, as well? Like the more money that there is within this industry, because there's a lot more money to be made within this industry than there is obviously within nursing. And I think that's becoming more and more apparent, and people are getting more swayed towards making those decisions that ultimately they've obviously gone into nursing for a reason, but some nurses might not be able to kind of support those long hours. And because, you know, it's long days, isn't it, when you're a nurse?
Yeah, it is.
It's
I mean,
a lot.
I don't miss it, doing like 7/7s every day, not even having time to
That's
go
the
for a
NHS
week.
putting strain on everyone.
Absolutely.
You know, and then they wonder why everyone's leaving, and, you know.
It was bad. I mean, I worked in, the last job I had before I left the NHS was medium secure forensic unit, male. So, like, I was left in a top lounge with, like, 10 men. You had rapists, murderers, all sorts. I had a bunch of keys. It was a bit like a jail, but no one was near me until, like, 3 locked doors. So if anything happened to me, pull the alarm. No one's getting to me any, like, it was dangerous.
Yeah.
But then how do you balance it when people are coming in to leave? How can they fix that? Do you know what I mean? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It's a really, really difficult one. And I think that it will be addressed. And I think it's something that they will have to look at altogether, probably when they look at the whole picture of regulation, and obviously the fact that the UK doesn't have any regulation at the moment in terms of this medic, non-medic. You know, we'll see.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Advice for women who have children who are in business.
I would say always go with your gut. I would say cherish time and learn when to switch off, because that's something I had a real problem with. So I was back into work after a week of giving birth.
Wow.
I was on the phone to my solicitor while I was giving birth. My mum was screaming at me like, "Get off the fucking phone, Rebecca," which I regret now, like fully regret. I'm like, no, like that, out of it, naked. But yeah, so and I think kind of like when I reflect now, like all the things I thought I wanted and that I thought that made me happy, like my car, watches, handbags, shoes, none of it actually makes you happy. So instead of kind of striving to achieve that, I would strive to achieve freedom. And like what makes me happy now is doing 2 school runs a day, and the fact that I can do that because my staff can't do that.
That's really sweet.
Yeah,
I really like that you've said that. That's really sweet.
Yeah, but I suppose, again, the flip side of that is people will say, well, you can't do that till you're making enough money and you're comfortable. But ultimately, you can only make so much as an injector doing service-based stuff. So I would kind of look into more ways that you're going to make kind of a passive income, so that, you know, I don't know, whether that be like online training, tutorials, ebooks, white labeling products, manuals, whatever, property, anything even not related to aesthetics, so that you've got like income coming in without you having to make the money physically.
And sacrifice time with your children. Because we do get such bad mum guilt. It's the worst.
It's bad.
I mean, obviously you've come here today to film with me, and it's like you've had to make provisions for that, and it's like we feel so guilty all the time, but you know, we can't do it all. And I think you're so right in your advice, because once you've had a couple of shoes, a couple of bags, a couple of watches, it all equates to the same thing.
It means nothing, honestly.
You don't get that feeling from when you bought the first bag and you're like excited and you're like, oh, it kind of becomes like transactional.
Yeah. And I don't appreciate or look after anything now. And I think it's because I've not, you know, like when you was younger, you had to really save up for something, and then you got it and you take care of it. And like, I just chuck it in the floor, and like, it's bad. It's horrendous. But now that stuff doesn't impress me as much. Don't get me wrong. I like nice things and stuff, but I get about in my gym clothes and my Apple Watch every single day. I'm not bothered. I'm more bothered about being at school on time and having that time and being able to just switch my phone off on certain occasions and just say, can't be arsed with this today. I'll deal with that. Deal with that later.
I think social media has a really big part to play in this, because I think social media can be very like showy offy. Like, there's, you know, I'm an aesthetics practitioner. I'm in Dubai on a balcony in my bikini with my pina colada, you know, and I think young girls watch these things and look at these things and they kind of think, oh, I want that. But they have no idea about, no, exactly. And actually that once you do get there and you've half killed yourself to get there, the feeling of buying something in a shop compares nothing to being able to sit down and have a meal with your child.
Yeah,
or,
absolutely not.
You know, it just doesn't measure.
But even though like like I said, you've only got so much time to make money in a service-based business. So there's only so many hours in the day you can carry out treatments, and you're going to reach a maximum.
Yeah.
When you get staff doing that for you, you've got all the outgoings of the staff as well. So, I mean, I probably made more when I had one clinic and I injected myself than having 3 and having 16 staff. I probably made more money because it was me doing it all. So you've got to look at other things, and obviously that's why I went into like the finance. And I just think as well, don't get comfortable and think it's going to last forever, because things change. And like I went through a bad period where I just earned loads of money. I was going to Spain every 2 weeks. I weren't bothered. And then it kind of like all these competitors came out of the woodwork, and it was a bit like, oh shit, like I've kind of got a bit complacent, and like I need to get back in now.
Yeah.
So you just need to be kind of on to the next thing, really. But I get bored very easily as well, probably because I've got ADHD. Like I'm doing like mentorship now, and
that's
stuff.
great. I was going to ask you about that. So you're mentoring now, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I do love it. I really do love it. So I'm doing mentoring and coaching, and I think again this is like a trend at the moment. Everyone's coming out calling themselves a coach.
Seen it.
Yeah, I've done a proper qualification, high performance coaching, because if I'm going to do it like the prescribing, I want to do it to the best of my ability.
Love that.
So like I am a qualified high performance coach.
That's
certified
great.
high performance coach. So I'm not just calling myself a coach, but obviously I can call myself a mentor because I have been in the shoes of everyone that
Yes,
I'm helping.
and they do combine in together. There's so many people at the moment that are waking up on Instagram and just deciding that they're a coach.
Yeah, and they've not
and I'm
even
like, that is so unsafe.
Yeah.
Because I think coaching, it's not just about coaching someone within a certain aspect of life, but it's a lot of emotional stuff crosses over.
Yeah,
and if you're not
absolutely.
able to like support someone emotionally, that's dangerous. That's very unsafe.
Yeah, it's really bad. And obviously I do think that my kind of past qualifications in psychology and mental health helped me with that. And then I've got the high performance stuff, which is all around like certain aspects of high performers and high achievers that you work on to kind of become a high performer. So like energy, clarity, courage, influence, stuff like that, productivity. So I've kind of got structure and I've got understanding. But then obviously with the mentoring, it's kind of just like, this is what I've done and this is what worked, because it's a strategy that I've used. I'm not saying like this is going to work, but it's worked for me. So that's what the mentoring is, isn't it?
That's great. And there's no better advice than practical, that you've walked in the same shoes as someone else. You can't beat that.
That's what I think. Like there's people out there saying they're a mentor and they've been doing aesthetics about a year, and it's like, come on, love.
It's like everyone woke up one day and was mentors.
It's like a bit of a trend, I think, at the moment. But I genuinely wanted to do it for a while, and I've been speaking at a lot of retreats, so that's where it came from. So I spoke at a retreat in Dubai, in Marbella, and I got like really good feedback from my sessions. And I thought, I really enjoy helping people. You know, there's no like jealousy, like in terms of like, oh, that, you know, I'm going to help someone and they're going to do better. Like I want people to do better. It's not like competition to me.
Yeah, that's good though. And I think authenticity always shines through, and you can always tell someone that's just copycatting over someone that genuinely is doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, there's so many people out there now copying me, and it's like, just get your own identity, because it's you can't keep that up. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, if someone wins the lottery, you know, if I go put them same numbers on next week, I'm not going to win the lottery. Like that's a good analogy. That's how I look at it. Like you can only copy someone, but it's worked for them because it is inside them and it's who they are. It's not going to work for you. You need to be authentic. But I'm doing really well, and like I seem to be getting really good results with the people that I'm helping. They're really happy. And then I'm doing a retreat as well, which I'm a little bit nervous about because I've never done anything like that. But it's going to be extra.
Of course it is.
It's mad. I did look at a private jet actually, and I thought, no, rein yourself in.
Did.
Rein yourself in. No one's going to be able to.
We can get so carried away, can't we, with these ideas, and
like,
just feel
like,
oh, I'm going to do
that. To the
that.
French Alps. I'm like, no.
Is that where you're having it? The French Alps? That's really nice. It's really classy.
Yeah.
Like
I wanted something a bit different, and I think like a lot of the sun ones have been done, haven't they?
Yeah.
And we've got like skiing, the après ski at Foley Douche, and like that'll all be included. And there'll be like a teacher if you can't ski, so there'll be an instructor.
Oh, great.
And obviously you don't have to ski if you don't want to ski. Private chef and everything. got a really beautiful, massive chalet, like deep in the mountains with a fire pit outside and a swimming pool, sauna and everything. So yeah, looking forward to that. And I've got some amazing guest speakers actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Okay, I'll tell you, but I need to wait till they've signed the contract, one of them, before you tell everyone. So I've got Patricia Bright.
Oh,
do you know who that is?
Yes,
With the money
I do.
mindset.
Yeah, amazing.
She's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I've got Grace, who is Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO. Like director and social media girl. She runs the whole thing.
Wow.
But I've not released them yet, so you're actually one of the first people that know, because it's all agreed and stuff. But I actually had a different guest that I loved, and it fell through, and I told too many people.
Okay.
Because I was overexcited.
So this episode will be released after the signatures.
Yeah. But I made the mistake of. I mean, to be honest, these people are going to be more useful to the delegates.
Yeah,
they are. The other person was just my idol, and I was just loved the fact that I had her, but it just weren't.
Obviously wasn't meant to be.
No, she was coming from America. It was like too much flight wise time, and then it just didn't work out. But I'd already kind of half teased who it was.
Okay.
But anyway, like I said,
we learn from these things.
Keep your mouth shut. But these are kind of they are set in stone pretty much. It's just a few niggles back and forth with contractual terms.
So when will the retreat be?
So it is in March.
Okay, not too far along. Very nice. And is it like limited spaces?
Yeah, there's like 15 space. Well, there's 7 left. So I've sold quite a few spaces already, considering I haven't even released a guest speaker yet.
Yeah, that's
and
really
it is expensive. Do you know what I mean? Like it is expensive, but it's relative to what you're getting and the guest speakers that you're getting.
Yes,
and the experience.
And with anything expensive, there's value, and you bring in the value
absolutely.
to the table.
Like,
so of course,
those guest speakers are next level. Absolutely next level, and that, and ultimately. It's aimed at people that are doing well already. I don't want newbies that are new to business there. That's not what it's about.
Because it would be too overwhelming and
too
overwhelming,
too much for them. They're not at that level yet.
And it has to be measurable to like where you want to explore and how you want to grow.
Yeah,
has to be the next step, doesn't it? It can't be 3 or 4 steps up, because then it wouldn't really have the same impact.
Yeah. So ultimately, the price point is aimed at the people that should be 7. So that's not right.
No, that isn't right. God, and my belly would be rumbling if it was 10 past 7.
I just wear my Apple Watch now. So like when you don't have it on for a few days, it stops the time.
Yeah, it does.
And then I'm wearing it. It doesn't even tell me the right time.
Funny story actually. When I first got my first ever Rolex, I got my first ever Rolex in Spain. And it was really like a funny day actually, because I had my little boy with me. I was really excited because it's my first ever Rolex. And they shut the shop for me, and I was like, "Oh, yeah!" Felt like, okay, this is what Kim K must feel like. Like my little boy had a McDonald's, because we'd just been to McDonald's. It was like bizarre. And anyway, I'd brought this watch and I loved it. I was like, "It's great, wearing it all the time." Do you know what I mean? And I took it off for a few days because I thought I don't want to wear it all the time and get used to it, because I wanted it to be special. I says, "My Rolex is broken."
Sure.
Swear. I was like, it's not the right time.
Yeah.
And they were like, did you take it off? I was like, yes, did.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh yeah, like that's how they are. And I was like, what? I was like, I never knew that.
I couldn't actually change the date on it for years. I had to get my ex to do it, and not only now, after I've got a few of her figured out how to actually do it. But yeah.
But I mean,
I'm gonna sell some of mine.
I still don't really get it. Like Rolex charge so much for a watch, but then it stops when you take it off. Yeah. I just don't understand. Because if that was any other watch, you wouldn't buy it, would you? You'd be like, oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, because like literally on holiday you take it off for a bit and you've got to mess with it, and it is annoying. I just don't ever change it, to be honest.
No.
Look at my phone for the time,
it's
so
wild,
it's pointless.
Though, that like
pointless wearing it.
I just felt like the only person in the world that didn't know.
So yeah, it's definitely not 7:15. So
Speaking outside of the UK.
It is actually, starting kind of small scale with euro currency. I've been looking into that, but it is quite it's hard work, because a lot of the lenders, because some of the amounts are kind of small scale amounts, lenders don't want the hassle for such a small scale amount and then to wait for a return on that. But it is something that I've looked into, because I do kind of want to grow it as much as possible. And we get people kind of asking from Dubai, can we use it? Ireland is a big one. So obviously we can do Northern Ireland at the moment, but we can't do, is that right? Yeah, we can do Northern Ireland, but we can't do like Dublin and places like that because it's Euro, which is a bit of a pain.
Did that change then with Brexit? Were you able to do those areas beforehand?
No, it was just always like Great British pounds.
Okay.
So anywhere where there's pounds, because of all like the logistics of the payout and the banking and everything. So it's got to be in pounds. But I would like to grow it. I actually asked Stephen Bartlett if he wanted to invest when he gave me my award, because I got an award from Stephen Bartlett.
Why have we not spoke about this?
I know.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
How can you forget about getting an award from Stephen? So tell me, how did you get an award from Stephen Bartlett? That's amazing.
So it was for the finance company. It was actually Pretty Face Finance at the time.
Okay.
It was an award ceremony that was in Manchester, and the one I got was for innovation in business for the finance company. So by this time, like, I was steaming, I'd had loads to drink. So when I got on the stage and they passed me a microphone, I was like, you can invest if you want, I'm looking for a new lender, like an idiot. But yeah, I do think it, and I would like to take it to another level.
That's
and I think
great.
I'm probably,
what a recognition.
Yeah, well, it's on my website actually, like with my little mission statement for my mentoring, the picture of him handing me the award, because it is like quite a monumental moment really in my career.
You need to get that in a frame.
Yeah,
if you haven't already.
No, it was really good. But yeah, I'd like to consider growing it. It's just hard work enough as it is. So I need to just iron it out and get everything perfect in the UK.
Yeah, first. And then maybe. So is this available in like Gibraltar, because Gibraltar's the pound?
Yeah, anywhere that's pounds
really
it could be used.
Amazing.
Yeah. So like obviously we use it in Ireland where they use pounds.
Yes.
So anywhere that there's pounds it can be used. But I would like to probably start with euros, because that'd probably be easier. And then it's just difficult because you're having to kind of deal with lenders, and kind of one of the hindrances I've found that pitching to lenders, a lot of like the business development managers tend to be men, and they just turn the nose up and they're like not interested in beauty or whatever, and it's like you don't actually understand the amount of money in the industry.
It's a multi-billion pound industry.
They're like, not interested, we do retail, we do this, and I'm like, no, seriously, like. And the thing is, the way that I always try and pitch it to the lenders is it's return custom, because people need these things 4 times a year for 20 years.
It's not just a one-off. It's not a one-off purchase.
It's not like you're getting your boobs done and then you're never having them done again, maybe. Like, you're not going to miss a payment for £20-30 and then never be able to use that again. It's like a Klarna almost, isn't it? You're not going to mess up for £20-30 to never be able to have that luxury of spreading the cost again. And it's just draining trying to pitch this to these corporate men that look at me like, who are you, bimbo? Like, and they're like, not interested in that beauty industry.
It's crazy, like, isn't it?
If I show you the figures, please just listen to me. And then trying to do that in another country where they probably don't speak English
is even more of a challenge.
I haven't got time for that
yet. If there's anyone that can do it, it's certainly you.
I'll figure it out.
So I'm sure you'll figure it out, and I'm sure it'll be international before we know it.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay.
It was very silly of me.
Because you couldn't have actually practically have,
I wouldn't have left her.
Yeah.
And it's at the time, I didn't mention this either, I forgot, but I got in trouble with the FCA.
Did you?
Yeah, so we weren't allowed to add anyone to our license for 6 months.
Right.
And it was at that time when I was sorting all that out. And you can't just leave your child for 8 weeks, can you?
No, that's it.
Like, obviously some of them have kids, but they've probably got a partner at home, and it's no different for them.
Yeah, especially when you're on your own.
So it was for the best, really, because I wouldn't want to give half my business away anyway. It's just something I've said since I was younger, and I thought I always want to do that because I know I'd win.
You might want to re-explore, maybe.
I think I'm too old now. It's like back in the day when I used to watch it, there was a good range of business people on there, and there was people like in the 40s on there. And like now it's just like reality kids.
Yeah.
And like,
It's wild.
It's just...
We're talking Rebecca. She definitely brought a lot of surprises to this week. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. I've had a great afternoon with you.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we'll see you soon.